I think our industry makes a lot of assumptions around, how, where we would fit in a depth chart of importance, right? Obviously, we're number one. 401k is the most important part of any benefits ecosystem, fine. When you start getting out and talking to employers and you say, hey, here are 10 things that are probably on your mind. We're not going to ask you to rank them, because I'm standing right here. And of course, I'd be heartbroken if I wasn't number one. But you get a sense that, things like health and welfare are incredibly important, right? And, leave management now has become one of the biggest, kind of new additions to most record keepers platform. To stay in an asset management silo, you never even ask what leave management really was. But now all of a sudden, because some of our best record keeping partners are adding it, well, we have to take note. So we sometimes make assumptions correctly, incorrectly, but getting to the HR executives and the plan sponsors, we can start to square some of those assumptions and get a sense of whether they're correct or incorrect. And that's just kind of, to your point, Will, that's base level, being exploratory and finding out at the user level, kind of what's important. I think the backdrop of what's happened in the 401k consulting space has also made us kind of reassess some of our assumptions. And what I mean by that is, the aggregators have been aggregating, right? So if you look 5-10 years ago, we had standalone, and Lisa, this, some of our best DC consulting practices were, and still are thriving to a huge degree. The difference is now many of those large practices have been purchased by a large national insurance company. And, without naming names, these are large nationally known brands who stepped in and aggregated the aggregators. So now some of our best DC advisors work for companies that don't just sell retirement. They sell, obviously private wealth management. They sell health and welfare. They sell property casualty. And we've made some assumptions there around, how they work together and how they're integrated. And I think some of those assumptions aren't necessarily correct as far as, what is the level of integration kind of under the hood. We see a big opportunity to help there as well, right? How do we help DC advisors who are now part of a large insurance company better understand maybe health and welfare, property casualty, and how they all work in the context of workplace? That's kind of one of our mandates. And then you also look at some of the large, wirehouses and broker dealers. And again, we're blessed to have so many different types of clients because it really gives us a good view of what's happening out there. Yeah. And it's wrong to assume that all of our clients have, the same view, right? I think just our perspective is valuable to these clients. And we assume sometimes, oh, they have it figured out,